on with our programme then. Now, Malta is that brave little island in the Mediterranean that has been a defender of European civilization for thousands of years, a defender of our southern frontier. And keeping that tradition going is the political party Viva Malta and the organisation Imperium Europa. Our next speaker is a painter, a poet, a philosopher, and he's also leader of Imperium Europa. He is what you've all been waiting for, all the way from Malta. Please give a thunderous welcome to Norman Lowell.
Thank you, Jazz, for that generous introduction. It's good to be here again amongst comrades and friends, all different, all working towards the same cause. But this is what gives us our strength, that we're all so different and we tolerate each other's ideas as expressed from poetry to martial arts to wherever. It's very good. Very good. We don't toe any party line. Now, this is the 6th time in London explaining, elucidating the evolving idea, capital letters, italics, idea of Imperium Europa. As I had emphasized during my last visit in 2012, everything depends on the outcome of this battle for spiritual dominance. This is a spiritual struggle above the racial, cultural, and political battles that we fight. A final cataclysmic struggle for the soul of the white man. A struggle that has reached its final stage. For we have to beat our eternal enemy at this level, at the spiritual level. Otherwise, attacking him at the political, economic, financial, he just laughs at us, shrugs us off. Montezuma lost a vast empire to Cortés with his 100 men. Why? Because Montezuma's sister, Princess Papan, warned him of the prophecy of the return of the white gods. And he was lost, even before the battle. Montezuma had lost the spiritual battle. Now, during my last visit again, I had anticipated the publication of a book, Suprahumanism. I had anticipated it, and it's now been published. I really recommend it. It's a great book written by a very erudite man, Nathaniel Forrest, who's been a lifetime diplomat for a major country, and he's living in Central Europe now. The book is published by Arctos and distributed by Amazon.com. You can read it. And in Amazon, if you look at it, Suprahumanism, European Man and the Regeneration of History, you can read my modest prelude, as he calls it, not prologue or forward, but prologue. I've been privileged, actually, to have been asked by the gentleman there, the author, to contribute to the book. Now, just a few words. I'm mentioning this book because it links up beautifully to the subject of my exposition today, Serrano. But you will see why. Just a few sentences. As the Italians say, per inquadrare il soggetto in order to frame a snapshot the entire book. Suprahumanism rests on two pillars, Wagner and Nietzsche. Contemporaries who were friends, notwithstanding the disparity of age. Friends who then parted company and became intellectual enemies, with the young philosopher attacking the composer ferociously, but falling madly in love with his wife, Cosima. Now, Cosima, just a little, Cosima wasn't exactly a beautiful woman. In fact, she was the ugly duckling in the family, you see. But she was a great intellect, great conversationalist, very good pianist. Her father, Liszt, probably the greatest pianist ever known. And despite her plain looks, she had many suitors, actually. She had an allure and was, as one biographer said, a kind of femme fatale. And the young Nietzsche, 7 years her junior, fell madly in love. He fell for her, hook, line, and Parsifal. So there was one thing more about Cosima, which fits in this whole struggle. She was an inveterate anti-Semite to her dying day. As one biographer said, with that battle axe of her face, she could smell a Jew a mile away. Now it is easy to see an intimate relationship between the works of Wagner and that of Nietzsche. They constitute two poles of that mythical field, suprahumanism. After they parted company, Nietzsche suffered greatly in distancing himself from the only man he had ever loved. However, this suffering arose from a kind of metaphysical jealousy. Nietzsche would have wished for the place in history accorded to Wagner. Why? Nietzsche, the philosopher of perpetual overcoming. He could not endure Wagner's expression of that same philosophy that predated him, expressed in opera, in music. Nietzsche established the philosophical myth of the Superman. He explained its logic and created a language, a beautiful language for it. However, the myth existed already in the form of Wagnerian opera. Nietzsche merely gave a name to what already was expressed in music. He could never admit this. Nietzsche deliberately concealed the Wagnerian origin of his Zarathustrian vision. This is my prelude to the book, so I've just a sentence or two. Now, suprahumanism as historical tendency, born from the Empyrean soul and in the mid-19th century. It became a sort of magnetic field in expansion with the two poles, the artistic work of Wagner and the poetic philosophical work of Friedrich Nietzsche. Now remember, we're talking in mid-1849, 1850, there was the emancipation of the Jews, you see. They were let out of their ghettos, they could marry Gentiles, they wormed their way in politics, to the upper reaches of government, mixed with royal families, and they could indulge in their mischief-making openly. But these people I've mentioned, Liszt, Van Bülow, the first husband of Cosima, Wagner, they resented this emancipation. They resented it because they knew what was coming. Nietzsche's thoughts about Jews is very ambivalent. He criticizes them a little bit, very seldom, but he praises them to high heaven. Now, obviously, a psychologist would tell you that he was doing this to spite Wagner rather than out of conviction, you know, I mean, a man of his erudition. Concludo, what then is the alternative offered to the man of our age? Nietzsche said that the choice was between the last man, the man of the end of history, and the leap towards the Superman, the regeneration of history. Now, this is what links us to Serrano. Ultimately, the outcome will depend on us, on European women and men, on the choice we make between these two options. For us, the historical decision is always, and at the same time, a wake-up call. Here comes Serrano, you see. It's a wake-up call, addressed to the past, to a forgotten, lost origin, a decision to surpass this decaying present, and the undertaking of a future project that has hitherto never taken place. Why? Because it is suprahumanist. Modern man, the very image of a declining paganism, accepting the fate of the Christian mask. However, Serrano again, however, his most intimate will is not destroyed. It lies dormant. Its presence invokes the person who will come to awaken it. And this is the end for which the gods are waiting, the beginning of a new history, a regeneration. So you see, this, yes, it's the link, these last few sentences, the link to what's coming. That's why I mentioned it. So that's number one. Now, come to the object. I still get butterflies, don't matter how many times I speak publicly. Now, Serrano. It all started in February 2011. I received an email from someone I had never heard of before. Brother Francis, a Franciscan monk, a recluse, living a monastic life. He immediately reminded me of Gailey Simpson. We all know who was a Franciscan monk for 10 years. And then he recoiled in horror at his wasted life and became a Nietzschean and wrote that great book, Which Way, Master Man. So this Brother Francis, like him, a Franciscan monk, still is. He informed me that he was translating Miguel Serrano's magnum opus, Adolf Hitler, the Ultimate Avatar. Yes. A book. It's 40 illustrations. I'll be talking to mention that, just to tell you what I was smuggling here. Well, he was informed me I was going to publish this book in English because it doesn't exist in English, like many of Serrano's books. They're only in Spanish. And he said this. I'm saying it because it's the truth. Mr. Lowell, you are the only person who can write a foreword to this book. I said, you want to accept the manuscript, which I did. I said, and I accepted. And Brother Francis emailed me it's 1,000 pages, long, the depth of knowledge within this mystical masterpiece drained me. I could not read more than 10 pages a day. A great stress, attention. Understanding could only come from a sort of Zen intuition, a satori, not logic. This masterpiece holds deep secrets. The origin of our universe, the one egg within which were the he, she. Their separation as she tumbled out of the broken egg and was lost in the vast, dark emptiness. And he took the leap and searched for her. And they met, and the two became one. The Hyperborean Aryan gods lost the purity of their blood. They mixed with the daughters of man, an involution, a paradise lost. The avatar comes at the last moment when everything seems lost. When the memory of the blood is faint, almost obliterated. The avatar rekindles the spirit, shakes the world, and infuses courage in those still loyal. During the final offensive in the Ardennes, SS soldiers wounded in British and American hospitals steadfastly refused blood transfusions for fear of losing the memory of the blood. The whole SS initiation ceremony at Wewelsburg centered around the recuperation and the regeneration of this lost memory of the blood. In this book, one finds the origin of that rodent race. Rodents in human form, our eternal, implacable enemies, created by the demiurge, infused with an eternal satanic spirit. That race that incarnates the opposite of all that is good. A race that has made sick this world, contaminated it over a span of 3,600 years. This is not a book for everybody. One needs a predisposition, an intuition to begin to understand it. Every pore of one's body as an open window to the gusts of timeless, immemorial truths. A difficult, arduous journey, at the end of which the reader, enriched, feels a deep sense of debt and gratitude to the translator who offered us this treasure. So that is the book. I completed my foreword. I'm honored to have been asked. I completed my forward, yes, to this, which seems to have pleased Brother Francis. And you can read about this book on our website, vivamalta.net, under a search of Miguel Serrano. If anybody is interested in purchasing this work, either in hardcover or softcover, and other books that are being translated, I don't know which, some 4 or 5 of them, can contact Hermitage, Helm, H-E-L-M, Corpus. Hermitage, Helm, Corpus, and ask and inquire about the details, and so on and so forth. So that brings us, those 2 digressions, that brings us to our talk today. Serrano, visionary warrior of the spirit. Now, In order to understand Miguel Serrano, particularly this deep, obscure tome, this esoteric masterpiece, one needs to have read Savitri Devi, at least her Lightning and the Sun. There is an affinity, both intellectual and spiritual, between the two authors, Savitri and Serrano. They met in Germany at Externstein, the huge rocks, mysterious rocks there, and spent a night there, vigil, in the niche there together. And Serrano says, we stayed there in vigil and meditation, guarding the flame. Guarding the flame. Both of them regarded the Jews as the physical incarnation of that dark force, the Demiurge. They both did. Yes, Serrano is anti-Semitic, or more precisely anti-Jewish, but not in a petty, personal way. Anti-Jewish in spirit, and perceives them as the spiritual antipodes to the Aryan. Jews enforced their rigid racial code for millennia, before which the National Socialist racial creed seems childish. Savitri Devi, who knew Serrano from his years as Chilean ambassador to India, who was a personal friend of Indira Gandhi and spent years until Lende, of course, kicked him out, obviously. They met in India many, many times. And she also believed, like Serrano, that the hero, Adolf Hitler in Yoki terminology, the hero was an avatar, the penultimate avatar. And that Kalki, the last avatar, the 10th avatar, would have Hitler's spirit, but be less sun and more lightning, more merciless. This is not a book. It is a musical mystery and mysticism, darkness and light, esoteric symbolism, astral travel, master and pupil, the memory of the blood, and so much more. A book describing the ongoing, titanic, and eternal battle between gods and devils. A dark force, a satanic spirit, and the coming or returning Hyperborean Aryan age. Now, the hero knew that he was not the one, not Kalki. He knew it. He knew it and expressed this in a one-to-one, one-hour meeting with Hans Grimm. The hero was, in his words, preparing the way for the one, the bare essential work. He knew since the end of 1941 that he could not win the war, but that he had to fight it. Had to drink to the dregs that bitter cup, go through the Calvary, the crucifixion of an unwanted Jewish-instigated war, a fratricidal war, a genetic disaster for the white race. He had to go through it. It was destiny, la forza del destino. For, as he said himself, if I win the war, I will have given a mortal blow to the Jew. If I lose the war, the triumph will only be for a brief time. The hero lost a battle, not the war. And like Wagner and Nietzsche, who spoke of the Superman and the eternal recurrence, so Serrano speaks of the hero as a Superman, who will return as Kalki, the 10th and last avatar. A cosmic synchronicity as the archetype prepares his return. The hero will return soon. He will clean up this world and restore Hyperborea. On a specific day in December 2012, at 9 p.m. Malta time, 12 men, some of the best from all over the white world, from every continent, 12 kindred spirits congregated on the sacred site in the sacred island of Melita, a site unknown by the authorities, some 6,000 to 12,000 years old. They met at that precise moment when the dark age of Kali Yuga, after 4,600 years, made way and ushered Krita Yuga, the golden age, which will last 7,600 years. As the moon becomes totally dark, at that point, the new moon is born. The 12, dressed in black, took a blood-curdling oath of secrecy, an initiation marking the 12 warrior monks for life. Warriors of the spirit, prime movers, leaders of the coming final conflict. A 1.5-hour ritual carried to perfection, inspired by the collective unconscious, or, as Serrano puts it, the memory of the blood. For rites and rituals enable the exoteric to reach the esoteric. As Nietzsche says, things in nature come to us eager to become symbols. Repeat that, beautiful. Things in nature come to us eager to become symbols. And so, the planting and watering of the mighty Japanese ginkgo tree, that it may live for thousands of years, symbolizing the coming imperium. Invocations, blessings of oil from a 600-year-old Maltese olive tree. Sprinkling of pink salt from the Himalayas, and the drinking of the finest pure wine from a special goblet, symbolizing the Graal. The slow procession round the site, 3 times, steps gathering resonance. The sanctifying and the empowerment of the baton of destiny. A necessary initiation, a cyclic power into predestined vehicles, a mystical transfiguration of cosmic significance that influences events after. At that moment, everything changed for the white race. This biological aristocracy. Our struggle against the eternal enemy, the hidden enemy, was won at that point. At that moment, the enemy felt instinctively that he had lost the war. The rodents knew deep within themselves that from then on they were in discendente, in rapid decline. The rodents in human form became depleted, drained, demoralized. The eternal enemy can only be vanquished at the spiritual level, for the enemy has no spiritual adversary, for Christianity lacks the esoteric. As Otto Rahn said, Judaism and Christianity is a quarrel amongst rabbis. On that momentous day, that precise time, on the sacred island of Melita, our enemy lost the spiritual battle against the white man. Just as we 12, the preordained, predelect of the coming elite, knew within our innermost selves, knew with a messianic certainty that victory is now ours. 12 men, warrior monks, bonded, forged through the crucible of a lifelong fight. A fight that has been going on for millions of years. A fight that started in another world, another universe, for there is an infinity of universe and an infinity of galaxies. A fight that started light years away, where Hyperboreans first originated. This spiritual fight that started light years away carried on our planet, Gaia, this planet we love, we cherish, the Mother Earth. She is indeed a living planet, and we are killing it. Our enemy is killing the world because that is his nature. And our planet is a living mother, a feminine, you see, which we have to save and fight, as that karate expert said. We have to fight for our families, for our children, for our women. And exactly the same fight. A spiritual fight between two gods, an Aryan god of truth and harmony and beauty, against that incarnated satanic spirit, a hatefulness infused into this tiny tribe of rodents in human form, a tribe that has contaminated this once paradise of a planet. Indeed, the chosen people, chosen by Satan, imbued with a satanic spirit. A race apart, seething with an unquenchable, insatiable lust for dominance over us, a burning sense of a destructive mission, a hate towards all humanity, particularly us, Gentiles, a hate towards all that is beautiful, noble, and intrinsically superior, a tribe that cannot ever change its ways. It is in their DNA, carrying within itself the lowest instincts, the basest cunning. A race apart that has no God except money and materialism. A tribe that has no concept of a spiritual life, afterlife, just the present. And when the human rodents die, they are extinguished into that same nothingness, that vast, dark abyss. They have no spiritual afterlife. This then is the fight, the only fight that matters, a spiritual struggle, a fight between the Aryan spirit and the satanic rodents. A fight at the highest level between Aryan order and satanic chaos. A fight in order to restore Hyperborea, and through the memory of the blood, the memory of the soul of the white race, the soul memory, as Serrano says, recreate those Aryan gods on earth, reverse the involution caused by the eternal enemy, extrude the pure Aryan blood that still remains within the race. Savitri and Serrano, brother and sister in the spiritual odyssey. Savitri, high priestess of pre-Christian inner purity, beauty, and truth. Serrano, visionary and warrior of the spirit. Ave.
We're involved in a war for the very survival of all that's noble, honourable, truthful, beautiful, chivalrous and heroic. A war for the very survival of all religions, for the very survival of all traditions, for the very survival of all races, including our race, the white race. If we lose, then we're for the darkness and extinction. But we're not going to lose. We're going to win the spiritual battle. We're going to win the war. Never give up, never give in, and despite the odds, we will win. Norman Lowell!
Reaching his head. It's going to be one. We're going to go extinct from messing with we're going to wipe them. Were they for? And I think this was the Royal Providence would probably send us another leader like Hitler, who would still be a reincarnated Hitler. He'll just wipe out, wipe them out every year. It'd be like, because Hitler said, the guy who's supposed to come would be like more ruthless than Hitler.
Look, Hermitage, very important.
More merciless.
Hermitage Cowl. They've got a website, Hermitage Cowl Corpus.
This is something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it was. He's going to go for all this now. Heavy going.